Hey everybody, imagine that you're trying to connect to your remote PC on your telescope and you cannot connect. It won't respond. You can't remote desktop into it. What are your options? Stick around and find out. My name is Doug. This is Astro AF. Let's get into what we're going to need for the project here. To start with, we'll need a box. This is an Apache box. I got this out of Harbor Freight. It's a 8 1/8 by 5 5/8 by 3 3/4 inch. It's the Apache 1800. Nice pick apart foam. If I pull this off, you can see I've been using it for something else, but I'll go ahead and fill in these with some extra foam that I have saved. To go in the box, I've got a little mini LED monitor, and it's actually quite nice. I'm going to use this, which is part of its own shipping packaging, because this will be convenient to mount this in. And I'm going to mount this into the lid of the box, which this foam here will just come out, and then I'm going to glue this into the lid, and then I'll give me an area where I can glue the monitor onto this piece of foam. I'm going to be gluing this with pure silicone, clear. It's not rated for electronics, but on the back here, I'm just going to be going around the perimeter. And so I'm going to avoid actually getting silicone on any of the actual electronics, and we'll just put a bead around here where there's no, it's nothing but the plastic backing, and we'll glue that in that way. And then I have a neat little folding keyboard, and it has a touchpad and then a full QWERTY keyboard. It came with a USB cable. I know it's Bluetooth. I have yet to find out if it will work via the USB cable or if it's just power. I would prefer to have a USB. I actually couldn't find a USB only. They used to have one, and it was no longer available. So I'm going with this. In a worst case scenario, I do have a USB keyboard that I can take with me. And then I've got this interface cable, which has HDMI and USB inputs here. That's going to be drilled through the box with this hole saw. This is a 1 1/8 inch hole saw. This barrel on this cable here is about 1 inch. So that should give just enough play to go through. I'm also going to silicone this to the box to make sure I try to preserve it being waterproof, since it is before I drilled the hole. I've got a little bit of CA glue, and that's going to be for gluing the foam if I need to. And I've got some adapters here for HDMI and for the micro USB. That's to go to the monitor. And this is going to be a tight fit because of the length of the adapters. I couldn't bring this cable in here simply because they're too big, and my road case box isn't big enough for this or wide enough. But I can just fit this in widthwise if I modify the foam and scoot this over a little bit. And then the other thing is the way that they've got these arranged is that I have to bend the micro USB adapter here more than I'd really like to. That will go in this port like such, and then the HDMI will just make it in with that, and then I can just run these cables down from the lid into the bottom and then connect them to this longer interface cable. I've got an X-Acto knife for cutting the foam and a straight edge for cutting the foam. And I've got HDMI cables for making up from the adapters to the interface cable. And I've also got a USB cable for that purpose as well. And a drill, just to drill the hole in the inside of the box. So that's pretty much everything that I'm going to need to build this. So we'll go ahead and start with cutting the foam for the lid and the monitor. and we'll see how that goes. All right, so I think the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and fit this foam for the lid, and then I'll move on into the main box compartment to drill the hole next, because I kind of want to get this lined up so I can get a better idea of where exactly I want to drill the hole. I think my options for drilling the hole are going to be in the side or coming out the back here. So, but I haven't decided yet. I want to get an idea of what this actually looks like. We'll be discarding this foam or using it down on the bottom. I'm going to insert this foam in here. Now this foam actually has a divots cut out of it because there is a top and bottom to this monitor. I need to make room for the adapters for the HDMI and micro USB. So I think the way I'm going to do that is see if I can rotate this. Okay, so that's upside down to me right now. And then the largest adapter is the HDMI. So I'll start with that in here. And what I'm doing now is just getting an idea of how much I need to shift this over. So right there, I think is going to be fine, but I can't remove it. Okay, so what we need is to move this over far enough to where I'll then be able to pull this out. So I need to have that much room and maybe just a 1/16 more. So that's where I need to be there. And so I'm just going to, hopefully, I think this pencil will maybe leave a line on here that I can see. That's going to be my cut line. Okay, yeah, I can see that. All right, we'll get this out of the way for a moment. And then I'm going to cut this foam. I mean, being square is nice. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think what I'm going to do, if I can get a good cut off of this, I'm going to reinsert this foam cutoff back over on the other side, and then I'll cut out notches in the foam so the adapters will fit in there. Okay, that looks like it's pretty good. All right. So I think I'll take the factory edge then, and we'll put it over here. And I'm thinking I'm going to just use some CA glue to put those back together again once I get there. If it matters, I don't know that that really matters. So with that, we can test this again. So now that'll scoot all the way over here. And then I can put the monitor in, again, making sure it's correct face. And then ensuring that we've got plenty of room to install and remove this HDMI. So if I get it there, yeah, I've got all kinds of room there. So that will be just perfect. And then if I grab the little foam piece, I can just fit that in on this side like that. And that should be good. All right, so I'm going to silicone this in. I think first I'm going to go ahead and I hope I have enough CA glue. I know I've been using it a lot lately, but I just want to let's see if I got enough to glue these two together. Maybe. Getting down to the bottom of this bottle. But I think this is all I need the CA glue for. Yeah, I don't actually know if it'll bond this or not. I hope it does. If it doesn't, I'll just use some silicone. It's just that the silicone takes so long to dry. This should set up in just like 30 seconds or so. Yeah, that worked. Okay. Good enough to hold it in place for now until I get this in there. Yeah, so I'm just going to, we'll get a little bead of silicone around the inside. All right, and then I'm going to do a little bit of silicone. Okay, and that should hold it. All right, then just need to make sure I get this in the right way so the divots are pointing toward the bottom. Press that into the silicone. That will take some time to dry, so I'm going to just be careful with this. But we'll come back. Actually, I think a couple more things that I can do here is go ahead and I need to make the cutouts for the HDMI cable here. So I think I'll install that and figure out where I want to cut that. And this little foam is like in layers, so it's kind of nice. So I'm just going to cut some layers here. We'll start with this. All right. And then I can just push the cable down into the foam like that. And let's check out the other adapter here with it. See if I need to make any cutouts for that. I don't know if I can get this in with that in there. Yeah, I think I will cut this out a little bit right here. Just so it's not putting any strain. We'll just take that over to this side here. Yeah, and so these two cables can then just, I may cut a little groove in those, I'm not sure. I've got some little cable management clips that I could use in here, but I think that's probably going to be okay. All right, let's go with that. Okay, so next, I want to look at where we're going to put this connector. And so what I want to do with this is I want to drill it through. I kind of just wanted to figure out where I wanted to do it though. So coming out the back like this, that might be in the way of the keyboard. And how I want to mount that. So this is going to go here. Yeah, that's really tight. I think I'm going to have more clearance if I go off to the side. So I'm going to drill through back here in this corner, about halfway up. And see if I can get it started from in here so I don't have to measure. Let's start drilling through here. And we'll come back through the other side. Really easy to drill. All right. And we've got our hole. I'm going to clean this up real quick. All right, I'm going to go clean up this mess. All right, so now I want to go ahead and get this connecting cable installed. So this is pretty simple. It will just slide through. And I've already got this set up out here. So I do want to just get a little bit of, and do I have enough? Let's double check that real quick because I want to make sure I've got enough threads to get on this. So it's just got a little plastic nut that comes in from the other side. And we got to be able to thread on to that. And if I can just catch a couple threads, then that will be enough. And that does not appear to be the case. So I'm going to have to modify this cap. We'll take this off. And so this cap is in the way here, which I want to use the cap, but I may have to cut off this part of it, which is fine. I'll probably end up losing the cap that way, but we'll see. All right, so now see if we have enough threads. Yep, we have enough threads now. All right, we'll just do that. And I will have to abandon the retaining ring for that cap. No big deal. I can still use the cap. It fits nice and tight. Just have to put it in my pocket when I'm using it. All right. I want to add a little bit of silicone on this cable and around these threads here. On this flange, I should have said. Make sure that this is weatherproof. I really don't think there's any reason to make this wrench tight, but I will make it as tight as I can, hand tight, which is about there. So then there's our USB and HDMI interface, fairly well squared up. A little bit of squeeze out there, no biggie. So at this point, we can just sort of curl this up in here, I think, and let's see if we can get this organized. Something like that, I think. And I probably want to come underneath like that, and we'll make up our connections. So I'll have to be creative with foam. I don't think I'll necessarily do that on camera here, but I'm going to have to cut foam around this, but we'll just keep going forward and I'll deal with the foam later. Oh yeah, I do need to glue this monitor in. So this is going this direction. So we can put a bead of silicone around these edges. There are some electronics there, but I think we're going to be all right. All right. We'll set this down in there, and we're going to glue that to the foam. I've still got the protective plastic on here. I'll peel that off once I'm done with everything. I think these cables right here are holding me up just a little bit. And so I'm going to split this so that I can tuck these cables. Yeah, just like that. Just take a little pressure off of the off of those ports. So I think that I'm going to need to let this set for a little while and glue up. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to put a little weight or some tape on this to hold it down, and I'll come back later. All right, so I was so close, but I had this part here, which is an adapter from USB female to micro USB, and this is what's called an OTG adapter. And when I was reading on this before I ordered it, it's supposed to transfer power, and but it may not have been compatible with data for what I wanted to do. But all I needed it for was power, so I took a risk on it, and sadly, this does not work. So I wasn't able to get power to the little monitor, and so I spent some time trying to find an adapter or whatever I needed to get from USB-A male to micro USB male, which is basically impossible to find. But I did find an adapter and ordered it. It's going to be here tomorrow, so I'm going to wrap up this project tomorrow. So I'll revisit this and finish up the video then. But I did make progress, and so I'll show you where I'm at. All I have left to do is just install that little adapter when it comes. So, and I did get 1-day shipping on that. So anyway, let me show you how far I got with that. I didn't take the time to video me doing the pick apart foam. That's boring, but I'll show you what I have and how I got it put together. So yeah, so here's the box, and it's nice, self-contained cap on the HDMI and USB input. The USB here is basically just for power. And in retrospect, I might have looked for a different adapter here so that I wouldn't have had to mess around with the USB, a female to female adapter that I had to order. But I think it'll work out in the end. So this latch is nice. It does have a little environmental control on the front here, which allows you to open or close this to, like if you're flying with it or something and want to open it to make sure pressure stays the same. So I've got just a piece of foam that I pulled out here that I decided to keep using, and that makes a pad between the keyboard and the face of the monitor here. And so I can pull that out, take out the keyboard, and just put this back in. And then I've got a flat surface for the keyboard to sit on as such. And so, you know, if I'm out standing and holding this, or it's not bad. I'm going to probably be one-hand typing if I need to type, but if I need to, I can set it down. And then just for support, I put another piece of foam underneath here. And then I have my cable storage, which is my HDMI and USB. I can just have that all together and run out to a computer and plug in. And I've got my backup USB drive that has my Windows Restore on it. And then as far as what I have to do, I won't take this all the way out, but I have this USB here. Goes up and powers the monitor. So I changed this around a little bit, but this is working, and I've tested it, and I do get power to the monitor. And then coming in from this port on the side is another USB male. So what I have is a USB female to USB female adapter that's coming. All I got to do is plug that in, and then hopefully that will work. And I shouldn't have to take this bottom foam out again unless I'm changing something around. So that'll just stay like that. And then I can just put everything back together. Just like so. And this is in here good. It's not wanting to move around at all. I mean, it's very firm in there. I'd have to really tug on it to pull it out of there, I think. If I needed to, I could take this out later and clean the silicone off the back of it and whatever, but hopefully won't need to do that. And then, yeah, this all closes up nice. I'll just put that back on top just as a pad for the monitor. Close it down. And it's nice and snug. So nothing shaking around, or it should be a nice little crash box, or, and take that out to whenever I'm going somewhere with my scope. So yeah, I will check back in tomorrow and finish up this little adapter, make sure that's working, and then we'll fire this thing up and test it. And I've already tested power and stuff, but just want to get it up and running and actually make sure that everything that's in there is working as it should. And so anyway, kind of a fun little project. All right, I'm back, and I think it's about 3 days later. I was waiting on some deliveries, and in the interim, I put some more thought into the crash box, and I've made a couple changes, and I wanted to show you what those are. But we can pretty much wrap this up. I did a preliminary test and everything's working. I want to show you that, and then we'll go have a look at it out on the scope. This project is seeming like it's a success, and I hope that you like this. If you want to do it, I have the complete materials list, so bill of materials is down in the description. Those links are affiliate links, so if you want to support this channel and you'd like to do that at no additional cost to you, you can use those links to buy any of the materials or the parts that I have incorporated into this project. So anyway, let's have a closer look. All right, so transitioning down to this camera, I wanted to go over a couple of the changes that I made. One of the parts that I was waiting on was this adapter, which is a female USB-A to USB-A adapter. And this is so I can connect the two wires inside the box. One change that I did make is I decided to add, I had a 4-port hub laying around, USB hub, and I thought, that'll be handy. And so I plug that in, and that gives me a place to connect the keyboard to inside the box. And then I have a couple expansion ports available. The other port that's on there goes up to power the little LED monitor that's in here. So let's go ahead and take a look, and I will show you around inside the box, and then we'll take a look and plug it in and check it out. All right, down here in the crash box, so we can kind of look at it like this, I guess. So nothing's changed up here. I'm thinking I might grab a magic marker, a permanent marker, and just make this black here. Like, it doesn't really matter, but just because. And then inside the box, which maybe it's easier for your view. So if I take out the keyboard and then the foam, so down in here, these are great. So little desiccant packs. I just tend to, when I get a delivery of something or some type of package, then I'll save these, and I just got one and throw it in the bottom of this so that it'll absorb any humidity. And I've got that little female to female adapter. They sent me two, so I got an extra one. And then down in here, I've got a USB hub, and I've got the monitor and the keyboard USB plugged into that. And then the USB hub is plugged in to this cable, which comes in from the outside. And then the cables from the USB hub over here go to the respective places. So one of them is here for the keyboard, and then the other one comes up through here to the monitor. So we'll go ahead and put this back together. I'm going to flip this around, pack all this back in again. So in this pack, I have the one other thing that I needed to get, and this is, put it on this camera, a USB-A to USB-A male cable. Now, this I found to be really hard to find. I couldn't find it locally anywhere. I went to the stores. I tried to buy it locally. I ended up having to order this off of Amazon. This is really important. It's critical to get the power into this, because these cables, regular cables, are not bidirectional on the power. They only go one way. And with a female on this side, that would have been the opposite way that it needed to go. And I did not want to run the pigtails off of this connector to the outside and end up having cables out here all the time. I wanted those to all be contained within the job box, or the crash box. A USB-A to USB-A cable, and then the HDMI cable. So these are the two that'll go outside and plug into the computer. And then, as we've shown before, then I can set up the keyboard as such and plug that in. And then on the side over here, I can plug in the HDMI. And right now I'm just connecting this to my laptop. I'm going to run the power over to my Jackery here because I didn't have a close enough USB power source for this. And so that'll just plug into the USB on the side. And I don't know if you're like me, I will never ever in my life actually be able to plug a USB-A into a jack and get it right the first time. All right. I'll plug that into the Jackery, and just to get some power, turn that on. So we should see power came on to the monitor, and got a little green light power right here for the keyboard. And let's see if I can get connected here. There's a little power switch right here on the side of the keyboard. Yeah, and then if I can, let's see if I can find this. If we look on here, maybe you can see it. Let me go to a dark place up in the space area here. So I've got mouse is working. This is a success. I'm really happy. And so I should be able to connect this out to my miniPC on the scope. Should I ever have any problems? Might find some other uses for this too. It might be handy during live streams to have a second monitor that I can have a look at for chat and things like that. We'll see. All right, so I thought that's pretty cool. So we'll go out and have a look at this and plug it into the scope and just do like a 360 on it to finish up this video. I hope you like this video, and if you have any questions, certainly let me know down in the comments. And again, I'll have the entire bill of materials down in the description. And I really appreciate you hanging out and watching this video. So thank you very much. And my name is Doug, and this is Astro AF.